in June, Tracy Morgan was involved in a car accident where a Wal-Mart truck driver rear-ended a limousine that he was in with his friends. As a result, he suffered from serious injuries that forced him to go into rehab. He had injuries to his ribs and his legs, and one of his friends, James McNair, died as a result of the car accident. Well, now Tracy Morgan has filed a lawsuit against Wal-Mart because of the fact that the driver was behind the wheel for too long, he was speeding, and there was obviously some wrongdoing on his part. And so what's interesting is Wal-Mart's response to it, right? So let me give you the details of what the lawsuit says, and then I'll tell you what Wal-Mart had to say in response. The lawsuit seeks a jury trial and punitive and compensatory damages. It says the retail giant should have known that its truck driver had been awake for more than 24 hours before the crash, and that his commute of 700 miles from his home in Georgia to work in Delaware was unreasonable. It also alleges the driver fell asleep at the wheel. A report by federal transportation safety investigators says Roper, that was the driver, was driving 65 miles per hour in the minute before he slammed into the limo van. The speed limit on that stretch of the New Jersey Turnpike is 55 miles per hour and was lowered to 45 miles per hour that night because of construction. So Wal-Mart responds by saying that the passenger's injuries were caused in whole or in part by their failure to properly wear an appropriate available seatbelt restraint device. That is unbelievable, and they say that that constitutes unreasonable conduct.
Okay, now I know why Walmart's saying that. It's a legal defense that's fairly common where they say it's not completely our fault. You contributed to the issue at hand here, so we should not be wholly responsible. We should at most be partly responsible. Now I understand that in the legal world. Now having said that, that looks really, really bad. I mean, you saw that limo, man. They tore that thing apart, and the guy inside died, let alone what happened to Tracy Morgan. It looks incredibly callous to then turn around and say, yeah, our driver was driving for 13 and a half straight hours, you know, and he had been up for over 24 hours, and yes, your friend died and you suffered terrible injuries, but it was your fault.
You weren't wearing a seatbelt. You know, there's possibly an interesting loophole in the seatbelt law. I don't even know if this loophole exists, but I find it strange that when it comes to limos, a lot of them don't have seatbelts. The same for buses. A lot of buses don't have seatbelts either. So I don't know why that's allowed to happen if we have seatbelt laws on the books, but it might not even have been their fault if they weren't wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah. So now look, I think Walmart is playing this all wrong. One, because it's seems despicable and cold-hearted. Two, it's terrible public policy. I mean, their image is hurt by this because the guy's famous. Do you see what I'm saying? Look, they crush little people all the time, right? They don't care and they're not going to get called out on it. But in this case, I mean, even if you disagree with how much they're asking for, you got to make it go away. I think it's a really stupid PR on their fault, on their part, I should say. Now, when it gets to the real fault at hand, so you enjoy the low cost at Walmart, and oh my God, I got this for a couple cents cheaper. But that's partly because they push the boundaries and push the boundaries. And can I get this guy to drive for 13 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours, so I could milk as much as I can out of that guy before I have to pay another guy, etc. And sometimes when you do that, it has consequences. And in this case, the consequences were lethal.
I think that the really big issue here is the fact that we regulate companies like Walmart too much, right?
Too much, yeah.
So for instance, when it comes to these truck drivers, they're not supposed to be behind the wheel for more than 11 hours. Now, if we did away with that regulation, obviously Walmart would make their drivers drive the right amount of time so these accidents don't occur.
What's interesting is that they don't make them drive less than 11 hours. They push it all the way to the edge and beyond the edge anyway. If you took away the regulation, they would push even further out. And then they would say, oh, well, that's okay. We have these 18-wheelers smashing into cars in the highways all across the country. Then people got mad, and hence, some of them didn't go to Walmart. Free market. That's
crazy.
not how it's supposed to work, and it's certainly not how you would want it to work if it was your family member that 18-wheeler crashed into.
I don't don't think Walmart really cares about bad PR at this point. I mean, every time Walmart is in the headlines, it's for something negative. Very rarely has Walmart been in the headlines because they treat their employees right or because they care about their image, so they're doing things to fix the situations that they're coping with. You know what I mean? Like, it's always something negative, and they don't change anything. They don't want unionized workers. They don't want to pay their employees more. Negative headline after negative headline, doesn't matter. They keep their policies the same.
It might be because of this amazing fact. Did you know that the 6 heirs to the Walmart fortune, so Sam Walton was the founder, these 6 heirs did not they found a lot of money, but they did not found Walmart, right? So they just got lucky by an accident of birth. Those 6 people have more money than the bottom 100 million Americans combined.
That's amazing.
100 million Americans. So their attitude is probably like, whatever.
Exactly.
Who cares? I already got paid, man.
That's absolutely right.
Okay. Now, I know Walmart is not run by the heirs, but there's an attitude that trickles down to management where they're like, hey, keep the prices low and keep it rolling. Who cares what the consequences are?